wanted to use it for abroad?
No, locally. At that moment, there was no that mentality.
What year was that?
Yes, it was around 2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So when I went to South Africa, I got there. Then, yes, things were not really the way I thought they were going to be. And then I told myself I was going to divert to something else. And I had passion of doing something to do with accounting, working in the bank, and etc. etc. So I went back to school.
Outfit,
yes.
Okay.
From the nursing uniform
I know,
white, right?
Yeah.
So from there, that's when I studied a course that enabled me to work as a consultant at African Bank in South Africa. Then I worked there for a couple of months. But whilst I was there, there was something that happened home, and then I had to come back. And then when I got back, I couldn't resume because there were so many changes. But at that time, I was studying my business administration and management. So to cut the long story short, I was just doing it with challenges here and there. But at that moment, that's when I asked myself, what exactly am I going to do as a business? Because we're doing something like business plans and etc. at school, presentations and all. So that's when I just looked at myself. And at that moment, being a Christian, you know, it always says that the gift that the Lord has given you always gives room for you.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And I looked at myself, what gift do I have?
Was it hard for you to pick it out? Because most people get lost in that moment where they're like, what gift do I have in my life? What is it that God has placed in me that will allow me to live out my life to full?
For me, it was not easy because the understanding from the pastor apparently that was preaching about it, it was like more like a success workshop at church. So they were saying you need to discover yourself, because most of the people, they leave what they have gifted and pursuing the wrong thing, where the Bible says that gift will actually pave a way for you, that you sit with kings and queens. And you know, there was that whole of sermon that just made me to think about it. And it was that moment that I was actually almost completing my course.
Right.
That's when I looked at myself. I'm a person who just loves looking beautiful.
Oh yeah.
No matter how cheap my thing can be or how expensive,
must be nice.
It has to be nice.
It must be nice.
I always say to people, when you're wearing a size 32, buy 32, don't buy 34. Where is the 2 going?
Yes.
Because it will not make you look not good.
Mm.
So I looked at myself and I loved beauty. And I just said to myself, I need to just go back to school. I thought some of my friends were going to teach me. But you know how we're not all the same.
No.
There was that thing of, no, she mustn't know what we are doing and all that. But I went back to school. Then I had to do, first I did with nail technology, with nail City there in Bedford in South Africa. That's how I started.
Right.
And when I started, it wasn't like I started it at a huge level. But I just told myself, I just need to start. That's when I started the beauty industry. And since then, till date.
Girl, you moved from nursing to banking, banking consultant, and then life happened, and then you heard a message about purpose and a gift setting you before great people, and then you're like, but I like doing this. Let me go and study it. And then you ended up in the beauty industry. Like, you went through all the phases possible until you found the exact thing that you wanted. Do you think this is the part that most people will take? Or you from day one, this is what I wanted to do?
You know, there are some from day one, they'll just discover themselves that, for me, this is me. But most of the people, I would say, they are in the wrong positions because they don't take time to discover themselves. And that's so sad, because with me, from the nursing, yes, it was there, I was getting something out of it, but we talk about fulfillment. We're talking about what are you passionate about. Because with you, Becky, looking at you, how you are talking on the radio, that's you. And the way you do, all this emceeing, you can see that your English, your body language flows because that's you, and you discovered yourself, and I'm so sure you're so fulfilled in it.
Too much.
So with me, when I passed through all those careers, there was no fulfillment at the end of the day. Money can be there, but you need to be doing something that no matter the hours, you still be good.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. And since then, I can say this year, 2014, marks 15 years of me being in the beauty industry.
My goodness, I left the beauty industry after being in it for 12 years.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
I did ITEC in Tedesco, and my main focus was to work with physiotherapists. That's what I wanted to be, actually. After discovering myself over and over again, just like you, but I was like, hey, if I become a physiotherapist, I think I'll be fulfilled, because after massaging someone, I could feel within,
and massage is therapeutic.
Yes, girl. Yes. And then all that energy that you carry around, and I knew how to dispose of it. I knew how to make people feel well. Stress. You've got healing hands.
Yes.
And I was like, right, this is the thing this is what I want to do. But I ended up in media. And I was like, okay, so yes, maybe I had healing hands, but maybe my spirit was really out there for hope restoration, for healing through the mind. My voice was going to, help people somehow. I don't know how God orchestrated it, but like you said, I am so fulfilled in it. So by the time I left the beauty industry, 12 years, I felt like, I don't know, I've done this thing. And here's you, 15 years into it, and you were like, I'm not only going to be working for people, I'm going to open my own practice. Now, when I was reading your profile, it sounds very motivational. I started with 1 grain of rice. I started with 1 tablecloth. I started with me, and no funding, 2 tables, and I'm thinking, girl, please, 2 tables, and then you have a school. No, come on, what really happened? Don't tell us motivational stories.
I know most people, when you tell them, I don't go against motivational speakers, right? But I've never loved a person who talks about other people's stories. Your story should inspire, your story should change somebody else. And looking at myself, when I say I started with 2 tables, I remember I started my business at 111 Commissioner Street in Johannesburg, and that space was very small. If you look at this studio, it was just very small, like half of this studio.
No way.
I'm telling you the honest truth. And when I started, I had a carpenter that I'm just working with even till date, who did 2 tables for me, and I started from there. And the other thing is, when I discovered myself not as a therapist, but as a facilitator.
Come on now.
Right? Because I knew I was good in talking, and being a child who was raised by a father who was also good in training. My dad was well known, like in Zimbabwe, all over, because of training boilermakers, Chibuku breweries, Kadoma textiles.
And you got from there.
Yes. And he got also accredited with City and Guild at that time. So I was also hand in hand with him whilst he was doing his work. So I could see how he was so passionate, how he was, So when I started, I told myself, I'm going to start small and grow big. And starting in a foreign country where you are not yet eligible to get a loan, or nobody trusts you that if they give you 10,000, are you going to return it? So the mentality of God multiplying things. And I think the most important thing that's made me to be so aggressive and seeing myself successful before it was a reality, I was much on the word of God, where he spoke about multiplication. And I went through scriptures about business success, how God multiplied people, how he elevates and all that. And also in a ministry and a church that I was in at Winners Chapel, it's a church where there's growth and where people, they talk about all those. So when I started with the 2 tables, I knew because I was so sure about what I was now journeying on
and who you were at that point. So it's not a motivational statement that I started with 2 tables.
No, it's not.
It's money that you had, and you said, with my 500 rands or whatever it was that you had, I've worked, I've saved money. No one is coming through to fund me. Even though you work for African Bank as a consultant, you could have gone back and said, hey, listen, I used to work here and I want to start something. Are you able to fund me? But you were like, I'm a winner in Christ. I'm going to do this thing. And you used your own money, got the 2 tables, and you just started.
I started like that. And the other thing that I had was a good friend. There was a lady by the name Memory. She had worked for Standard Bank in Zimbabwe for about 13 years at that time. So I could speak to her about what I wanted to do. So I said, you know what, Memory, I want to do this. I want to start training, but I don't have enough money. And I'm thinking of partnering with somebody else so that I can be able to get money from the person and restart the journey and everything. She looked in my eyes and said, Lorraine, your business that you want to start does not need millions. So why would you go for partnering? Start with what you have. So it was a confirmation of what I had as the word within me. Then that's when I started. And when I started those 2 tables, people were coming, I'll train them. And it was a journey that today I can inspire somebody, because I actually have pictures that this is how I started. I would have 2 tables, 1 massage bed, and then 3 stations of hair. So I was actually multitasking. If I get a person who wants to do massage, I'll do the massaging. If I want to get a person that wants to do the hair, I'll do the hair. Trying to build myself.
Right.
And trust me, Becky, it's about your diligence and about your focus that makes you to be great. And the other thing, when I started with those 2 tables and in the beauty industry, you know, there was a very bad narrative about people in the beauty industry.
Oh, girl.
And that narrative, I told myself, I'm going to change it. Being in the beauty industry does not mean you're not educated, or it doesn't mean that you are less like a person with a degree, right?
I don't think people who actually think like that know what it takes to be qualified as a therapist or as an esthetician. It's like they just think, hey, well, I want to get Ramza. But if they actually see our study books, if they see the notes, if they see the different categories that we had to study, cosmetic chemistry, anatomy and physiology, and having to know all the body systems and all of that,
muscles, like, you know, all the terminologies of beauty. So most people, they think that beauty is a low career for people that have failed. People that are very brilliant. People that do that anatomy, especially if you are saying to me you did massage. Massage is one of the most difficult qualification in the beauty industry.
Girl, I was in love with anatomy and physiology.
Do you know, speaking all the language. I remember the other time when I went for a makeup, I said to one of the makeup artists, please, can you just make my zygomatic.
I knew, you know what, when you said you went for makeup, I was like, I can drop a zygomatic usually, so can I occipital?
You know. When you talk about all the forma, you know,
and she must have looked at you like,
zygo what? And all that. So, and the skin itself, you know, there's so many things that we learn in the beauty industry that if you look at even people who are in the medical field, you can actually compete with them on anatomy and physiology.
Because first year of beauty school is really like med school. Yes.
So I had to change the whole narrative and also bring the dignity around my space as an individual.
Were there people that looked down upon you because you were in that? And what do they think of you now?
They're so shocked, because looking at myself, one, I'm a person that values modesty in everything. I don't go by trends, I don't go by cleavage or whatever. I value myself in that image of, I just want to represent beauty in a different dimension. That's number one. Number two, people thought that the beauty industry was just a less profession, but they're seeing the fruits of what I have achieved by the special grace of God, right? And also at the same time, you get to understand that beauty industry right now is actually the most growing industry. when you're talking about skills on vocational skills and everything. And so the whole thing was changed when I joined the beauty industry, because I really wanted to show people that, number one, starting small and growing big is doable.
It's doable. You've got schools pretty much everywhere in South Africa. Is there a place that you don't have?
Yes,
I
don't have.
You don't have one in Durban. So when is the Durban branch opening?
I'm working on that.
And then, so after you've trained these girls, do you assist them to get jobs? Or do they remain within your school, and then you've got like a little section where there's like a functioning salon for the school until they find jobs to do? What do you do with them after you have empowered them with this skill? Like, you can now do treatments with your hands, you can now make money, you can now go out there and be a hairdresser, or all of that. Do you help them to get the jobs, or, right, I've trained you, go outside there and find a job?
Okay, with our learners, what we do is we encourage them to become entrepreneurs. But remember, not everybody is designed to be an entrepreneur. Some, we get them jobs. The reason why I say some, we get them jobs, is we also look at the personality and the characters of people so that we do proper job placements. But for most of our learners, yes, they get where they work from, and also our teachers, like the team that I work with, they are fully engaged. And with us being known in South Africa for the work we have been doing and the quality that we thrive by all means to maintain and to improve on a yearly, monthly, daily basis, a lot of beauty spas approach us. So when they approach us, they will ask, we need students from your school because of, they know this, like what we're talking about, anatomy and physical. So our learners, they go out, they get jobs. Some, they open their own businesses as well. And that's one of the amazing things, that people, they are opening their own business. Because with beauty, if you can't be hired, you can actually create your own employment.
Of course.
Do you understand?
Yes.
You can be a makeup artist from your room. You can be a massage masseuse with you. And thank God now there are all those mobile massage beds and all that. So people, they are not stranded at all. But trust me, majority of our learners, some, they go out on cruise. Some, they've gone to Saudi Arabia. Some, they've gone to Dubai, Omani. I have a couple of learners that have gone outside as well, and some, they've opened their own businesses. And we also help with those that approach us to say, we need, like this December, a lot of people were even begging, can we please have even those that have graduated or whatsoever. So we always give them, but most importantly, we teach them and groom them to become entrepreneurs. Be your own boss.
I like that. When we're off air, I'll tell you my story about the cruise ship.
Okay.
If I start talking about it now, I'd crazy. What was the most challenging thing that you went through in your business, starting out, where you almost gave up, where you were like, please, I'm not being forced to do this thing?
Okay, like I said, at the beginning, I had zero funding. So with a business, it needs proper marketing. So on the marketing, there was a time I really struggled, and it was a challenge because it will also affect the business as well. And until we got to get through to that. And the other thing that also I found so challenging, because personally myself, when I started this business, I was very young. Yeah, I would say young because I was 24, right? So there are things that you will need to let go for you to grow. You understand? So as a person, I had bad people around me, friends, people that I'll spend time talking instead of being productive. And at some point, Laureate actually shut down.
It did?
Yes, for a year. And
this was the time when you had one branch, or?
Yes, that was the time I had one branch in Joburg. And Becky, if I tell you, when I'm talking about the story of Laureate, it's a reality. It's something that happened. It's not for me to come here and talk to people to say, no, it was all roses and we know, those motivations like you were saying at the beginning. But at some point, Laureate shut down for a year because I did not manage the business very well in terms of commitment, focus, because I had bad company around me. And when I closed, being, like I always say, believer, I went back to God. But why? Because the vision was so clear. And I'll tell you what, Becky, I had 2 dreams where it was like a voice saying, leave the people that you are with so that you can grow. I feel like
that must have been hard, because at 24 you feel like I want all my friends.
You know, thank you.
That's my social life.
That's my social life, and I've known these people for quite a long time. I cannot just let go of. So I just thought it was something that I slept dreaming about. You know, when people say, no, maybe you slept dreaming about this, but it wasn't like imagination. It wasn't like that. And then it came back the second time, and that time I was at Winners Chapel. The beginning of each year we do 21 days of prayer and fasting, where you need to align yourself with God. So January, Papa 2021 foot.
Starting when?
It's always on the first week until the last week of January. Yes. So at that moment, no, really, it's really improves your spiritual life, and also for you to know your direction for the year as well, even though in between the year you still be praying and fasting. So it came back again as a dream to say, leave the friends that you're with and you'll see how I'll elevate you. And that's what happened to me. And then I had to obey the word, and at that moment, you know, you just disappear. That's what I did. I disappeared and I started focusing. And I started opening again Laureate from my garage, because now the money was not there anymore. So starting again is possible once you have failed, because we all learn from our mistakes. So that's what I did. Then I started from my garage. And then that's when now I had the guidance fully on how I should do things, even though I'd gone to school, but not knowing that it actually made me to be down. So after that, that's when things started going. My opportunities for them to start opening up. GRS, digital training in my refugees in Joburg and Pretoria. I don't want to lie to you, Becky. When you have the good people around you, things will just start happening. You start attracting good things, and that's what happened to me until date. So when you talk about branches now, God blessed me with 7 branches, 6 in South Africa, which is in Joburg, Pretoria, Rustenburg, Cape Town. I have 2 in CBD and Belleville, and then Port Elizabeth.
Young challenger, Lorraine, young challenger. It's a good challenge. I love a good challenge. I mean, after speaking to women, I always go, especially with women, because I'm like, they have everything that I have, you know. So if she can do it, what's stopping me from doing it in whatever field that I may be looking into getting? So as I'm listening to you now, I'm picking out that you could have given up a long time ago, but you were so sure about the road and the path that God had said, this is what you must do. You were consistent, you were disciplined, you had to be disciplined, and I believe so much that that's the reason why you are where you are today. And if you continue like that, 2025,
you know, sometimes when people, they are looking at somebody and applauding, there was, after I had a downfall, you know what I did? The first thing, I had to sow a seed in the house of the Lord. I sowed a seed in Winners Chapel, where I trained all Winners Chapel women who were not doing anything at that moment.
And you trained them for free?
For free. When I trained them, that's when now the church was like, you know what, we want to escalate this and be touching the lives of people in different communities where they are vulnerable. Like I mentioned, Soweto, Alexandra, Tembisa, people were coming through to Winners Chapel in Wynberg, in Joburg. I was training them. And when I was training them, it was a hall full of women. I can have a group of 500 people. I was training with a mic. And whilst I was training, I was saying, God, you brought back dead bones to life. Bring back my business to life. You know, this is what I want to do, and I've found my purpose in this. But the enemy came through, yes, and I did not obey, and then I shut down. But through this seed, I'm back. trust me, Becky, that was the resurrection of Laureate to date.
And you've got a school here in Harare. Where is it?
It's at Robinson House, opposite Karikamambe building.
Okay.
First floor. Yes.
All right. It's just because of our time. I mean, we could have gotten into a whole lot more. But if we want to find you, Lorraine, where do we find you?
Okay. For our on social media, we are at Laureate International Beauty School. Our Instagram page, we don't really use it much, but it's there, Laureate Beauty Training. And also on the phone, you can call me, or you can call us on +27 73 530 2183.
Okay, I think you have to leave that number for me, because it sounds like a South African number, but
yes, I do have a Zimbabwean number.
Yeah, you can just leave the details. Okay. Yeah, and then I will make sure that the pulses get it, because I'm sure there's some women who have tuned in who are going to benefit from it. Maybe not them, but maybe they have a young sister, yes, or a daughter, kind of muzukuru, who would definitely benefit from this.
And I also want to say before we close, because of you, Becky, I've been watching you fully, and you inspire me a lot. For anybody that is listening to me today on She Diaries by Becky, I would like you to come through to our Harare branch. The moment you mention Becky, you're going to get a very massive discount for your training, only to empower, transform, and to change the lives of people, and to make every woman to be very independent financially. That's the whole motive and the agenda. Thank you so much.
And